Happy Saturday, Seahawks fans. Seahawks Today is presented by Prize Picks. I'm your host, Will Ortner. And on today's program, we're going to be talking about the smart roster moves that the Seahawks made that nobody else is talking about because, well, the NFL schedule was released earlier this week, and the Seahawks kind of made these moves under the cover of darkness. Also, back half of the show, we're going to be talking about how the NFL screwed over the Seahawks, and I apologize to anyone who thinks that's a bit harsh there, but I'm going to tell you why and what the NFL did that puts the Seahawks in a very difficult spot. And then I'm going to tell you how the Seahawks are going to be able to overcome that. Let's start with those smart roster moves. ESPN's Brady Henderson told us that the Seahawks ended up signing a pair of wide receivers, Trayvon Rudolph and Rashad Rochelle, both guys UDFAs. Now, what's interesting about these two players is that neither one of them was actually at rookie minicamp for the Seattle Seahawks. So these are two moves that the Seahawks made without necessarily getting to see these guys in Renton, which is interesting. They ended up having to waive Devin Deal, the UDFA defensive end edge rusher type that the Seahawks had brought in from TCU. Now, he was a player that I thought had a decent shot to make the roster. Clearly, I was wrong there. Didn't impress at rookie minicamp, and they said no deal. Then this came to us from Field Goals. It sounds like the Seahawks have decided to also waive UDFA rookie receiver Michael Briscoe, citing a failure to disclose physical condition. Now, what's also interesting about that move, too, is I did see Corbin Smith of Locked On Seahawks, a really good Seahawks reporter, has a great beard as well, great beard hair color. Yes, he's a ginger like me. What is interesting about his tweet is that he essentially said Briscoe had a lot of drops, and the Seahawks were like, hey, we don't really want to deal with this. Like I told you earlier, neither one of these two receivers that the Seahawks are bringing in, neither one of them was at rookie minicamp. So the Seahawks liked what they saw on their film, while also at the same time liking what they saw from these two, whether it was from film study, workouts, or other things that they really felt like these two wide receivers could add into this team. Share this video on social media so that way you can let everyone know that loves the Seattle Seahawks that roster moves were made. Because I'm pretty sure a lot of people ended up missing out on this, which I would hate for them to do. So share the video so that way everyone knows who is now on the Seahawks and who is not. Let's first start with Rashad Rochelle as the newest Seattle Seahawk. Now you're going to see here, it says he's from Indiana State, but notice he doesn't have an Indiana State jersey on. I'll tell you about that here in just a second. Last season with the Sycamores, if I remember correctly, 44 receptions, producer Searle's nodding in approval, 863 yards for Rochelle, 9 touchdowns. The kid can boogie now, very fast, decent-sized wide receiver. I'm not going to say tall, but definitely not small at 5'11". Now, when we go into a greater breakdown here of Rochelle, he originally started at Rutgers, which is why you see him in that red jersey. And the other thing that's very important to note with him is that he's a guy who knows how to get into the end zone. Had a lot of touchdowns in his career, specifically in that last season. Very good special teams player. Someone that, if he's going to make this roster, that's where he is going to have to play. Now, let's look at Trayvon Rudolph because I think he's another fascinating player. Another on the smaller side, 5'10", just under. I'm sure his Tinder profile says that he's 6 feet tall, though. Ended up having an okay year over at Toledo, although I wouldn't sit here and say that it would have knocked your socks off. Another player, when I look at Trayvon Rudolph, is going to be able to help this team on special teams. He also played at Northern Illinois, which is something interesting. Obviously, running back coach Hammock was the head coach over there. So he has some time with Rudolph, a guy who's definitely, if he's going to make this team, he's going to have to make this team on special teams. I'm going to get very excited to see both of these guys ball out, and they're going to have to really work their butts off through OTAs and, of course, mini camp and training camp to make this team, but I wouldn't sit here and say that they don't have a shot. What are your thoughts right now on the Seahawks roster? Let me know what your opinion is down below on the comment section. For me, personally, I think it's a solid roster, and it's only getting better. We know that John Schneider continues to find ways to make this team the best it can be. Next, I tell you how the Seattle Seahawks got screwed. But first, I need to let you know that today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 sports picks app. It's the best place to win cash while watching sports. With playoff basketball here, there's no better time to cash in than with our friends at Prize Picks. And I'll tell you this, the app, it's really easy to use. To qualify for a Prize Picks lineup, pick 2 to 6 players and select more or less on stat projections, including points, rebounds, assists, three-pointers, and several others across all sports. If you're more of a baseball guy, you can choose stats such as hits, home runs, and strikeouts. One thing I really love is the new social feeds feature where you can share Prize Picks with your friends and copy lineups with a single click. You can actually follow me on the app at BigWill7774 to see all of my lineups. I have a lineup for the football action going on later on this year. Justin Herbert, more on his pass yards. Quentin Johnston, more on his receiving touchdowns. And Rashid Shaheed, more on his receiving yards. New user offer. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to receive $50 in lineups. That's code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to get an extra $50 in lineups with Prize Picks. Clickable link to download the app is in the comments and description. The NFL gave the Seattle Seahawks 2 gauntlets that they're going to have to go down through this 18-week schedule. Now, I think it's going to sound a little bit like Boy Who Cried Wolf here, because I think the Seahawks at the end of the day are going to be very successful in these games, and you're going to see a lot of victories for the Seahawks. But in my personal opinion, when you look at these gauntlets, you're going to kind of understand what I'm talking about. Week 4, the Seahawks have to play the Chargers. That's a team that made the playoffs last year. Is it a home game? Yeah, but you're still playing the Chargers. Week 5, you're playing the 49ers, another team that made the postseason. Broncos, week 6, that's on the road, and it's Thursday night football, so short rest, mile high. It's going to be hard for the guys to breathe, and you're dealing with the Thursday night fatigue. Week 7, taking on the Kansas City Chiefs Sunday night football. That's not going to be fun. And then week 8 against the Bears Monday night football. Now, on the bright side, a lot of these games are at home, but it's a brutal stretch, man. Every single team during that 5-game run, they made the postseason, right? You're going through there where you're really battling it out. I guess not every team. Kansas City didn't make it. I'm used so much to them to being one of the teams in the championship game. But it's just a brutal stretch. You're playing a lot of really quality football teams and a lot of quality organizations. Like I said, 4 out of the 5 teams made the playoffs. So every single one of those teams is very good, and it's not like any of them made it in a fluky way. Like, you can make the argument the Chargers should have been much better than what they were. They just had a bunch of injuries, and the Chiefs, they didn't make the postseason because Patrick Mahomes got hurt. If he doesn't get hurt, that team was pretty darn decent. You got to deal with some quick turnarounds, and you're getting a lot of primetime games. Monday night football, Thursday night football. It's just a more difficult schedule than you'd really like to deal with. And I don't know that there's any other team in the National Football League that has to go through a 5-game stretch like that that's as difficult or more difficult. Now, I would be happy if Seattle ends up going 3-2 during that 5-game stretch. I have them predicted to go 4-1. But I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, it's an abject failure by Mike McDonald if they go 3-2. In fact, I don't know that I'd say it's a failure if they go 2-3. It's a brutal run, and the only saving grace is that most of those games are at home. Now, the gauntlet number 2, this might be more difficult, even though it's only 4 games. Week 15 at the Eagles. You got short rest. You're playing on a Sunday against the Giants. It's Saturday immediately against the Eagles, so you're missing out on an extra day of rest. Then you're playing the Rams on Xmas, which, yay, it's at home. But again, you are on short rest because Christmas this year is a frickin' Friday. So you're only getting 6 days to prepare. Then you're going back all the way across the country to play the Panthers on the Eastern time zone. Decent chance that that game ends up being an early start or move to being an early start. Hopefully they keep it late. But again, brutal turnaround just to come back and go on the road to play the Rams. You've got 3 games here, or you're playing 4 games. Every single one of those teams made the postseason. You got 3 of the 4 games on the road, and you've got short rest in 2 of the games. This is a freaking gauntlet that the Seahawks have to go down, and you're doing it going into the most difficult part of your year, which is the postseason. It's brutal. In my opinion, it just isn't fair. Get your Price is Right t-shirt. Look at how sweet this thing is. You're helping welcome the newest guy to our fair city. I think the design is really stinking cool. Our guy here at Chat Sports, Arnold, does a fantastic job with it. Super cool design, great price as well. Go and grab yourself one today. We're going to have that link in the comment section and description of today's video. Shout out to ANJ. She's got the mob mentality. Went and picked herself up one of those t-shirts. We really appreciate her for doing that, and we really appreciate all of y'all who rock with us on Seahawks Today. I do think it's important, though, while I am complaining about the two gauntlets, to make sure that I mention, we do not care. In the words of the great Mike McDonald, we do not care. The NFL can screw us. The NFL can find a way to give us some of the most difficult games in the National Football League. But at the end of the day, what's the thing that's most important to remember? This Seahawks team has a great culture, and they don't quit. They are going to fight through the adversity of dealing with this schedule, and they're going to come out with flying colors. Now, I predicted that this team would go 15-2. I don't know if that's going to be what ends up happening. But you know what I do know? I do know that the Seattle Seahawks are going to put themselves in the best position to have as much success on the field as possible. And at the end of the day, we're going to be the best team in the NFC and the NFL for a reason, because we just beat everybody else instead of looking around and complaining. Hit the share button on social media. Help retweet us, repost us. Post it yourself wherever you want to do it. Facebook, Instagram, or on Twitter. You tag me, I'll make sure that you get a shout out on a future show. Hit that subscribe button as well if it's your first time checking us out. We've got daily coverage on the Seattle Seahawks. Most of the time, we got a bunch of videos on the channel as well. So hit that subscribe button. You'll be covered constantly. Thank you guys so much for viewing today's video. Can't wait to see you next time.